Hey everyone, and welcome back. You ready to dive into something a little different today?
Always up for a challenge. What do you have for us?
Okay, so this one's kind of interesting. We found this video making some pretty wild predictions about 2025.
2025. That's coming up quick.
Right. And get this, it's all about how 2025 is going to be like this year of crazy financial opportunity.
Oh, I'm intrigued. Is this like a investment strategy video or something?
Not exactly. It ties these financial predictions to, wait for it,
It's
astrology.
astrology and finance. Okay, now I'm really curious.
Yeah, I know, right? So basically, this video claims certain zodiac signs are going to be just raking in the dough in 2025.
Well, that's a new one. I haven't seen that in the financial forecasts I follow.
Right. It's definitely a unique angle. So we're going to break it all down, see if there's actually any historical connection between astrology and
Yeah.
actual financial trends.
Sounds fascinating. Actually, I'm always up for exploring unconventional ideas. Exactly. And most importantly, we'll figure out if there's anything we can actually learn from this, regardless of whether we believe our horoscopes.
Yeah, that's the key practical takeaways always.
Totally. So let's jump right in. This video starts off by saying 2025 is going to be different, like really different because of some rare planetary alignment.
Okay, so right off the bat, we're into serious astrological territory.
Yeah, and it's not just any planets. It's all about Saturn and Jupiter supposedly teaming up to create this like financial boom time.
Saturn and Jupiter. Those are pretty heavy hitters in the astrological world.
Huh.
I'm guessing that's not a coincidence.
Right. They're not exactly picking minor players here.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with those two planets? Like in astrology terms, what are they all about?
Okay, so in astrology, Saturn is often seen as the planet of structure, discipline, and long-term rewards. It's all about hard work, responsibility, and building something that lasts.
So kind of like the cosmic taskmaster.
Yeah, exactly. Saturn makes you work for it, but the rewards are supposed to be solid and enduring.
Okay, gotcha. And what about Jupiter? What's its astrological vibe?
Well, Jupiter is pretty much the opposite of Saturn. It's the planet of expansion, luck, abundance, and good fortune. Think of it as the planet of growth and opportunity.
So Saturn's the tough love coach and Jupiter's the cheerleader.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you could say that Jupiter brings the optimism, the enthusiasm, and the potential for those lucky breaks.
Okay, so that's interesting. But the video's talking about them working together, right? So how does that play out? Does Saturn, like, loosen up a little, or does Jupiter get serious?
Well, when Saturn and Jupiter form a conjunction, which is what's predicted for 2025, it's seen as this powerful combination of disciplined effort and amplified growth.
So basically, it's like Saturn lays the groundwork and Jupiter comes in and supercharges everything.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
It's like having a master strategist working side by side with a venture capitalist.
Okay, I'm starting to see the picture here. But this conjunction, it's not just a random astrological event, right? I mean, doesn't it have, like, historical significance or something?
Yeah, actually, the last time Saturn and Jupiter were in conjunction was back in the early 1980s.
What happened back then? Did the world suddenly become a financial utopia?
Well, not exactly.
Yeah.
But that period did mark the beginning of a major bull market. So there's definitely a historical correlation there.
Interesting. Of course, correlation doesn't equal causation, but it's definitely food for thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for, right? To explore these connections and see what we can learn.
Exactly. So let's get back to this video. You mentioned there were 6 specific zodiac signs that are supposed to be the big financial winners in 2025. Which ones are we talking about here?
All right, so the video highlights Libra, Cancer, Aquarius, Virgo, Pisces, and Scorpio as the signs most likely to experience some serious financial gains.
Okay, so those are the lucky 6. But I gotta ask, is there like a deeper astrological reason why these particular signs were chosen? Or is it just random?
Well, in astrology, each sign is associated with certain qualities and archetypes. And these qualities can be linked to different areas of life, including finances.
Okay, so it's not completely arbitrary. There's some astrological logic behind it.
Right. And the video goes into detail about how each of those signs might experience this financial abundance in 2025. It's actually pretty fascinating.
I'm all ears. Let's hear it.
Okay, well, before we dive into the specifics, I think it's important to remember that we're not here to tell anyone's fortune. The idea is to look for potential insights we can all use, regardless of our own zodiac sign.
Right. It's about finding those universal takeaways, not just blindly following astrological predictions.
Exactly. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look at these 6 signs, not to tell your future, but to see what we can learn from their 2025 predictions. You ready?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Okay, so let's unpack these predictions for these 6 zodiac signs. Libra, Cancer, Aquarius, Virgo, Pisces, and Scorpio, and see what we can learn, beyond just the horoscope stuff. First up, Libra. The video says it's going to be like the year of amazing business deals and killer partnerships. I gotta say, I'm not a Libra, but that sounds pretty good to me.
Well, Libra is ruled by Venus, right? The planet of harmony, beauty, all that good stuff. And yeah, also relationships. So in astrology, it kind of makes sense that this sign would be good at collaboration, working together, that kind of thing. The video even specifically mentions, like, using your charm to build relationships, which can lead to, successful partnerships.
Okay. But that just sounds like good business advice in general, right? Like, no matter what your sign is, if you can build strong relationships, that's going to help you.
Absolutely. But you see, that's exactly the point. The video's saying that for Libra, specifically, these energies are going to be extra strong in 2025.
Yeah.
It's like the universe is saying, hey, Libra, focus on what you're good at.
Interesting. So it's more like a reminder or a nudge than a guarantee.
Exactly. A cosmic nudge, let's call it.
Right.
And for those of us who aren't Libra, it might be a little nudge for us too, right? To think about how we can get better at building relationships, making connections.
Okay. That's pretty cool, actually. So it's not about, like, taking these predictions as gospel, but more like seeing what we can apply to our own lives.
Oh. Okay, what about Cancer? The video talks about financial stability for them and maybe even success with a family business. Does that mean every Cancer needs to, like, go start a business with their relatives or something?
Not necessarily. Remember, Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is all about feelings, home, that warm, comfortable vibe. So the prediction could be more about, like, tapping into skills that feel familiar, skills you might have learned growing up, almost like a family inheritance.
So not necessarily a literal family business, but more like skills that are kind of in your blood, something you're naturally good at.
Exactly. Like, maybe you learned how to bake from your grandma, and now you're starting a cake business.
Right.
Or maybe you grew up helping your parents with their finances, and now you realize you're actually really good with money.
I like that, like turning your family history into, like, a money-making skill. Okay, what's next? Aquarius. Right, Aquarius.
Yeah.
This one's pretty exciting. The video links them to, like, technology, big breakthroughs, even entrepreneurship. It paints this picture of Aquarians being at the forefront of, like, the next big thing.
Oh, wow. So does this mean we should all be, like, learning to code and trying to invent the next iPhone?
Well, it's interesting because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, the planet of, like, revolution, disruption, and it's an air sign, so it's all about thinking outside the box. So yeah, it makes sense that they'd be connected to innovation.
Okay, so maybe the takeaway here is, even if you're not an Aquarius, being open to new things, to change, that's important, right? Especially with technology moving so fast.
Exactly. Maybe it's learning a new digital skill, or even just, like, being more open to trying new apps, new ways of doing things. That kind of adaptability is definitely valuable no matter what you do.
Okay, makes sense. What about Virgo? What does the video say about them?
Well, for Virgo, the emphasis is on steady progress, structured investments, that kind of thing. It's a more grounded prediction, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Doesn't sound quite as exciting as, like, revolutionizing the world, does it?
True. But maybe that's the point. Virgo is an earth sign, so they're known for being practical, detail-oriented, all about, like, planning and organization. So this prediction could be like a reminder that slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially when it comes to finances, right? You don't always need to be making risky bets. Sometimes it's about making smart, consistent choices.
Right. And, Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which is the planet of communication and intellect. So it's not surprising that the video highlights, like, a well-thought-out, strategic approach to finances.
So maybe it's less about getting lucky and more about being smart and prepared. All right, 2 more signs to go. What about Pisces? I'm curious about this one.
Yeah, Pisces is interesting. The video talks about recognition and potential prosperity, but through their creativity and intuition. It's a little less specific than some of the other signs.
Yeah, that is a bit vague. Pisces are known for being artsy, right? So does that mean they should all, like, quit their jobs and become artists?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But it could be a sign that 2025 is a good year for Pisces to, really tap into those creative energies, pursue those passions they might have put on hold.
So maybe it's about trusting their gut, following their intuition, even if it leads them down a less traditional path.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe those creative pursuits could lead to some unexpected financial rewards.
Okay, last one, Scorpio. The video makes it sound like they're in for a pretty intense year with lots of change and transformation. What's the deal there?
Well, Scorpio is known for being intense, right? All about transformation, digging deep, those kinds of things. They're ruled by Pluto, which is the planet of, well, death and rebirth. So yeah, it's not surprising that the video connects them to, like, big shifts, major changes.
Okay, so maybe it's not about like specific financial wins, but more about a whole life transformation that could also impact their finances.
That's a good way to put it. And while this might be especially strong for Scorpio in 2025, I think there's a lesson there for all of us, right? About being willing to change, to adapt, to embrace new opportunities, even if they seem scary at first.
Yeah, that makes sense. So even if you don't believe in like the whole Zodiac thing, there's still something to be learned from these predictions.
Exactly. It's about being proactive, taking control of your life, your finances, all of it. And speaking of which, the video actually has some good advice for those whose signs didn't make the Lucky 6 list. It's not like they're just out of luck for the entire year.
Oh, really? That's good to hear. So what does it say? What can everyone do to like make the most of 2025, regardless of their star sign? Okay, so good news for the rest of us, even if we didn't get picked for the Lucky 6 Zodiac signs. This video still has some tips for making 2025 a good year, right?
Exactly. It's not all about just fate and what star you were born under. This video actually lays out some pretty practical steps anyone can take to, improve their financial situation.
Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of steps are we talking about?
Well, it touches on a lot of things: goal setting, personal growth, even cultivating a more positive mindset.
Yeah.
Stuff that might not sound super exciting, but actually can make a big difference.
Okay, so not just like go buy a lottery ticket kind of advice, more like actual strategies.
Right. Things you can actually control and work on. Like, for example, goal setting seems simple, but it's so important. Having a clear vision of what you want to achieve financially, that can be really powerful.
Okay, but how do you actually do that? Like, where do you even start with goal setting? It can feel kind of overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah, I get that. The video talks about this idea of like really defining what you want, not just saying, I want to be rich, but making your goals specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. They actually call them SMART goals.
SMART goals, huh? I like it. So instead of just wishing for $1 million, you'd be like, okay, I want to save X amount of money by this specific date for this specific purpose.
Exactly. The more specific you can be, the better. It makes it more real, and then you can break those big goals down into smaller steps, which makes it seem less scary.
Okay, that makes sense. What about that personal growth thing? I feel like that's a pretty broad term. What's the connection to finances?
Right. It can seem a bit vague. But basically, the video's point is that in today's world, things change so fast, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the job market. So always learning new skills, keeping yourself up to date, that's super important.
So it's not just about working harder at your current job. It's about like investing in yourself, becoming more valuable, no matter what you do.
Exactly. It could be taking online courses, learning new software, even just reading more about your industry. Anything that helps you stay ahead of the curve.
Makes sense. Okay, there's one I'm a little skeptical about, the whole positive mindset thing. It just feels a little, I don't know, cheesy.
I know what you mean. It can seem like a bit of a cliche, but honestly, there's actually research showing that your mindset can really impact your outcomes. Like, when you approach things with a more positive attitude, you're more likely to be creative, to find solutions, to attract the right people.
So it's not about like just wishing your problems away, but more about being, I guess, more resilient, more resourceful.
Right. Believing in yourself, basically. And that can make a huge difference, even when it comes to money.
Okay, I see your point. What about perseverance? I feel like that one's pretty obvious, right? Success takes work.
True. But sometimes we need that reminder. The video is basically saying that building wealth, it's not a quick fix. It's about staying committed to your goals, even when things get tough.
Yeah, definitely. Don't give up at the first hurdle, that's for sure.
Exactly. And then the last thing the video emphasizes is adaptability, which, honestly, in today's world, that might be the most important skill of all.
Totally. Like, think about all the stuff that's happening in the world right now. Technology's changing, the economy's unpredictable, there's all these global events that can impact, like, everything.
Right. And the video's point is, if you're too rigid, too stuck in your ways, it's going to be hard to thrive in that kind of environment.
So instead of freaking out about all the uncertainty, it's about, like, being flexible, being willing to learn and adjust as you go.
Exactly. That's what adaptability is all about, being proactive, not just reactive.
Okay, so even though we started off talking about astrology, I think we've actually landed on some pretty solid, practical advice that anyone can use.
That's what I love about these kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
You never know where they'll lead you.
Right, and I think the biggest takeaway is this. You don't have to wait for some cosmic alignment or a lucky break to improve your finances.
Absolutely. It's about taking action, making smart choices, and believing in your ability to create the future you want.
Well said. So, as we wrap up today, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. If you could somehow guarantee that you'd have at least one moment of amazing opportunity in your life, like a real lucky break, what would you be doing to prepare for it?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. It really makes you think about what you truly value, what you'd be willing to work hard for.
It definitely does.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. And remember, even if 2025 doesn't rain down riches on us all, the power to create our own success is always there.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Until next time.